Hi my friends, welcome to At Home with Gigi. Today we're going to be creating beautiful farmhouse Christmas DIYs. I hope that you enjoy them. I am spending some much needed time with family, so I cannot wait to share these beautiful DIYs with you. I hope you'll tell me what you think, and they are so very affordable. And who does not like an affordable DIY? Let's get started. Now we are going to create this beautiful Christmas picture for less than $10. And I love to do things like this for seasonal decor. And this gift bag came from Walmart. It was less than $5. I believe it was $3.98. And then the bulletin board came from the Dollar Tree Plus spot. But I'm going to be recycling it. I had started to use it for another project, just didn't work out. So we're going to use it to make our sign. I want my frame to have a sort of rustic farmhouse look, not too much because that's just not quite my jam. I like a slightly distressed look. But anyway, as I said earlier, I'm reusing this frame and it's already been stained with folk art antiquing wax, and I'm taking this candle, and this is a technique I've never used before, to distress, and I'm just going around and hitting the frame in certain areas and just rubbing the wax back and forth over it because I want it to look distressed. This is my first time doing this, so I didn't want to go too crazy with the wax, so we'll see how it looks in the end. And then I'm going to go in and give it 2 coats of Rust-Oleum chalk paint and linen white. Once the paint had completely dried, I'm going in with my scraper and I'm just going along the edges and removing some of the paint. I really was afraid that I had not added enough of the wax because it is my first time, so I wasn't for sure how much I should add because I didn't really want it heavily distressed. I love how this has turned out, but if you want a more heavily distressed look, then I would add more wax and just keep going over it. But I did get a little heavy-handed in some areas, and I did gouge my frame just a bit, so I went over that with my sanding block and just smoothed everything out. I just used my scissors and a straight blade and went in and just trimmed it down to fit inside the frame. And now I'm going to add some Mod Podge, actually a lot of Mod Podge, and it does look like a lot, and it is a lot. And when I first put it on, I was like, oh my gosh, that's way too much. But actually, I ended up going in and adding a little bit more because I wanted a really good, not thick, but a really good even layer on this board, just to make sure that the bag is going to adhere to it, because the gift bag is fairly thick. It's good quality from Walmart. And you see I'm just smoothing it out really well, and then I'm going to go in with my bag or sign, and then I'm just going to very gently place it down. I'm not sure why I went in while it was wet, because originally I had planned to let it dry and use the iron method, but well, whatever, I got a little ahead of myself. But anyway, I'm going with it. I'm just pushing it in and just smoothing it down as best I can. It came out wonderful. I used my brayer. I just recently got that and never used it before, but it did really help smooth everything down. I had one little wrinkle, not sure what happened in the corner there, but I was able to smooth it out a good bit with the brayer. And y'all, I love this. This was so easy, so inexpensive. And if you go to Hobby Lobby and get a seasonal sign each season, those things add up, even with their 40 and 50% off. But y'all gotta tell me what you think about this. I realized after I finished filming that I had forgotten to fill in the holes at the top of the bag, so I just used a tiny bit of white puffy paint, a little bit of glitter, and they just blended right in and looked like snowflakes. I did not add any additional embellishment to this. Y'all know I love my embellishments, but I think it is just absolutely beautiful the way it is. It's just so simple and easy to make, and it's going to be a great addition to my Christmas decor this year. For this DIY, we're going to be creating these beautiful snowy vases using items from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to begin by coating one side of my vase with a pretty heavy layer of Mod Podge. And then I'm just going to roll it in the Epsom salt. Now my Epsom salt came from Dollar Tree, and I'm using it because it's what I had on hand. If you can get Epsom salt from Walmart, it's a much finer grain, and to me it looks a lot better. But this worked and it came out beautiful, as you've seen at the beginning. But I just prefer the finer grain. But like I said, it still came out beautiful. In some areas that didn't have quite enough of the Epsom salt, I'm just going back and just adding a little more and just patting it in with my fingers. Just completed the same process for the other two vases. Now after they dried completely, I think I let them set for like a day or so, I did go back and add another layer of Mod Podge on top just to seal in that Epsom salt. Then I'm just going to take some jute twine that also came from the Dollar Tree and just wrap it around the neck of my vase. Now you could use ribbon here if you prefer, or you don't have to add anything to the neck, but I am going for that farmhouse look, so we're going to add some jute twine. And I'm just going to use this little pick that had been left over from Christmas from the year before, and this came from Amazon. And I'm just going to clip it down and then just use the little pieces and hot glue it to the front of the vase. I just love this greenery. I think it is so very pretty, and like I said, I had it left over from Christmas last year, and somehow I always end up not putting up all of my Christmas decorations. Does anybody else do that? Whenever you put everything away, you look around and you're like, oh my goodness, I've left this out. Well, that's what happened with these little sprigs, and I'm kind of glad I didn't pack them away up in the attic because they worked perfect on this DIY. I'm just going to tie the ends of the jute twine in a little bow, and I'm using these solar lights that came from the Dollar Tree, and I thought they were just so pretty. I love how they look in my vase, but I'm also going to show you an alternative that you can use, but you're going to have to let me know which ones that you prefer. But I love these. I think it's just such a pretty glow, but I had to turn my lights all the way down, so my apologies if this is not very good footage. My camera doesn't record very well in complete darkness, but that's the only way I could get the solar lights to show up, was just turn out all the lights completely. But I did go back and add in some of my little fairy lights, and I thought those were just as pretty, but it does give you a more warm glow instead of the cooler glow from the solar lights. But tell me what you think and which ones you prefer. For this project, I'm going to be using 3 8-inch paper mache letters, and the letters came from Michaels. And I'm going to be using this red and white buffalo check scrapbook paper, and that came from Hobby Lobby. And of course, I'm going to be using the Waverly chalk paint in white. And then I'm just going to begin by giving each of the letters 2 coats of the Waverly chalk paint. And the idea for this project came from QVC, actually. It was from a Valerie Parhill showing. I love her pieces. They are so beautiful. I actually have several of her pieces, but this was like $33, I believe it was. I'll insert a picture at the end. And I was like, you know what, I can totally make that for a lot less. And I had a $10 coupon from Michaels, so I got the letters for like $10 for all 3. And then I already had the scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby, and I was like, I can absolutely do this. So I was so excited. You're going to have to let me know what you think at the end if I recreated this piece for less. After making sure my letters were completely dry, I'm just going to measure out how much of the scrapbook paper I need for each of them. And I'm just using a very generous layer of Mod Podge because I want to make sure that my scrapbook paper stays in place. And then I'm just smoothing it out, making sure I get any excess Mod Podge that's under there and any air bubbles out, so I just have a nice smooth clean finish. And y'all, I love to work with scrapbook paper. It gives you just such a nice smooth finish. After letting my scrapbook paper dry completely, I just used a mixture of sandpaper and my handy dandy nail file, and I just love using that to remove any excess paper, and it gives it such a wonderful clean finish. You also want to make sure that whenever you're using sandpaper or a nail file that you sand away from your project so that you don't tear it. Now you could stop right here. These are beautiful as they are, but because I'm duping the piece, I'm going to continue on. And I'm just using these self-adhesive beads that you can pick up from the Dollar Tree, and they were really shiny and I wanted a more matte finish. And I'm just going over it with some Waverly chalk paint. Then I went back over the top of that with some antiquing wax. I wiped off the excess and just give it a bit of a distressed look. And now I'm just going to use Mod Podge and just attach these beads around the outer edges of my letters. Now this will take you just a little bit of time, but I just worked in small sections, as you can see, and I just used my little tweezers to help with it because it is very fine detail work. You can use a larger size bead if you want. It will help it go much faster, but I had this on hand and I was trying to keep it within a certain budget. Like I always like to say, you do not have to use the colors that I am using. This is strictly for inspiration, and I do use red, white, and silver in my Christmas decorating, but make it your own. Whatever color that you are decorating with for Christmas, get that color scrapbook paper or napkin or tissue paper that you would use in a gift bag. Anything like that would work. And if you do, send me a message or pop a picture down below in the comments and let me know what you've used and let me see. I would love to see it. As you can see, I did go back over the top of the beads with another layer of Mod Podge just to make sure that they're going to stay in place. Now, I did not distress my letters as heavily as the inspiration pieces were distressed, but that was strictly my preference. If you like it really heavily distressed, then go for it. This is a picture of the inspiration from QVC, but I think I came pretty darn close, and I love how mine turned out. You'll have to let me know what you think. Of course, if these are not your colors, you can always use any color scrapbook paper or napkins or anything like that. We're going to make a beautiful but oh so easy little arrangement, and we're going to put it in this sleigh. And I love this little sleigh. I've had it for several years, and I'll tell you more about it in just a couple of minutes. But I'm just using a variety of greenery I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to pop some foam in there, and you can see I didn't have quite enough, so I just stuffed in a few little pieces on the side. I couldn't find the candle that I wanted. Y'all, I'm a hot mess lately. Anyway, I'm just using this white one to hold the place for the candle that I'm going to add in a little bit. And I've already cut down the greenery, as you can see, just to make it go a little faster. There's no rhyme or reason how I'm putting my greenery in. I'm just popping it in. I'm trying to use a variety of greenery. To me, it just makes your arrangement look pretty and just, more pleasing to the eye. I picked up this sleigh about 3, maybe 4 years ago at Dollar General, and it looked like little puzzle pieces when I bought it. It was just all apart, so I took my favorite Gorilla Gel glue, put it all together, stained it with folk art antiquing wax, and y'all, I love this. It has held up for years, and I just love to play around with it every year. So this year I decided to just put this wild and crazy arrangement. If you watch any of my videos, y'all know I love wild, crazy, over the top, what I call lush arrangements. I am by no means a florist. I just do what makes me happy and what pleases my eye, so you do the same. If this is not your taste, you can always put a little tree, ornaments, whatever you choose in there. But it was just so very simple and easy to do, and it took me just a very short amount of time to do this. And y'all, I am pokey at everything. So if I can do it in 20 minutes or less, so can you. As you can see, I changed out the candle. I couldn't decide to go with this one that lights up and looks like a birch candle. I love this one. It came from Dollar General also. Or the red one. I thought my arrangement needed just a little more color. So y'all comment down below and tell me which one you think looks the best. For this Pinterest-inspired DIY, we're going to be using all items from the Dollar Tree except for the paint and ribbon. The paint came from Walmart and the ribbon from Amazon. And I'm going to be using this cutting board that I picked up during the Easter holiday. And I'm going to begin by popping off this little plaque that's on the front. It didn't go so well. It kind of tore the paper that was covering it, but that's okay. We're just going to flip it over and we're going to use the back side as the front of the cutting board. To keep the back of the cutting board, or front, if you will, from looking so raggedy, I will cover it with some craft paper off camera just to make it look nice and neat. And before I move on though, I'm going to give the cutting board and the placard a good sanding down. I'll wipe all the dust off, and then we'll be giving the placard 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in the color white. For the cutting board, I'm using burnt umber from Apple Barrel. Now I had intended for this to be much, much lighter and more of a stain. I just did not add enough water to it, but that's okay. We'll distress it a little bit with some white Waverly chalk paint, and I like how it turns out. You'll have to tell me what your thoughts are. While the cutting board and placard are drying, I'm going to go ahead and paint the word believe with crimson from Waverly chalk paint. Now I will tell you this, to get into all the nooks and crannies, I ruined my little tiny brush, so if you're going to do this, I would probably use an older brush or a sponge just to get into all those nooks and crannies and not ruin a nice new brush. I'm going to use hot glue to reattach the placard to the front of the cutting board, and then I'm going to go in with the leftover Waverly chalk paint and burnt umber and just distress the piece. This part is definitely optional, but I am going for a rustic, vintagey vibe with this piece. Are you a fan of distressing or not? Tell me down below. To attach the believe sign, I'm just using hot glue. Now if you want to make sure you've got a more permanent hole, I would suggest using Gorilla Gel glue, which is my favorite, E6000, something like that. But I'm rushing to get this project finished, so we're just going to go with hot glue. To attach the bells to the cutting board, I'm going to be using 3 strips of ribbon. 2 of them is going to be in the red and green plaid. You'll see that in just a moment, in this burlap color. And I've just pinched it there at the end of the ribbon, and I'm just running it through that little loop at the top of the bell. Y'all, I'm fat-fingered, so it took me a little minute to do this, but it's very easy. Just pull it through to the length that I want, and then I'll just use a little bit of hot glue to hold that ribbon in place, and then I'll just repeat the exact same steps for the other 2 bells. I'm going to make a quick little bow with some of this plaid ribbon, and that's going to cover up where we're going to be hot gluing the bells at the top of the cutting board. I've cut the ribbon kind of at an angle at the top, as you can see here, just to help it fit on the top of the cutting board a little bit better. It's still hanging over just a tiny bit, but I'm okay with that. And also once I attach the bow, it's going to cover all of that up. As you can see, I made the bell in the center to hang just a little bit lower than the other 2. Now this was so easy to make. It really, really was, and so very inexpensive. All that's left to do is just dovetail the ends of your ribbon, and it's finished. If you love rustic farmhouse, then this is a DIY for you. And again, it was so easy, so inexpensive, and I absolutely just love it. Thank y'all so much for stopping by. I truly appreciate it. It means the world to me. If you're not subscribed and you found value and enjoyment in my video, what you waiting for? Go ahead and smash that subscribe button, the like button, you know, all the things that would help my channel to grow. It means so much to me, and I will see y'all soon.